There are those who are in high power who suppresses knowledge from the masses. They will even go as lengths to as far as silencing those who are a threat to their evil system. The book of Luke chapter 12 verse 2 says, "For there is nothing covered that should not be revealed, neither hid that should not be known."
On the advice of my attorney, I declined to answer on the grounds that the question would tend to incriminate me.
This receipt certifies your option to purchase the equivalent in shares of OTC Enterprises stock at $1 each when available for public offering. Does that terminology give the holder of this right to that stock when it becomes available?
The answer is no, because there is no certainty that it will ever become available.
In other words, if I invested or if I gave you $100 and you gave me a deposit receipt such as this, then in the event the stock ever becomes available, if I will give you another $100, I can get my stock. Is that correct?
No, sir.
My question was that no one can connected with the patent office has ever seen the machine itself operate?
Not in its entirety, no, sir.
And though it is repetitious to conclude this phase of it, you are the only man who has ever seen it fly.
To my knowledge.
What is your scientific background?
It has been individual research associated with several scientists. This one in New York, we had the rare good fortune when we were a youth there in the middle 20s to know Nikola Tesla and to have many conferences with him on electricity, induction coils, and electrical power.
Well, you knew these people, but did you have any kind of formal scientific education?
No formal education whatsoever.
Well, for example, have you been to a university?
I've never only been into their libraries, never studied.
What is your education then?
We left school at the age of 13.
Do you always speak with the editorial we?
It's become customary.
Why, I wonder?
I don't feel very much alone in this. I always feel like that either my model or myself or other associates, I just don't feel alone.
Mm-hmm. This developed since you started this company and began getting investors interested in
This is true, yes,
the
sir.
wheel laying on its side, huh?
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Well, now, you didn't go to college. You had no formal education to speak of. I still can't understand whether you knew these scientists or not. I can't understand how you were able to acquire the necessary knowledge to perfect a machine as intricate and complex as a space machine.
Well, basically, the principle is very simple and needs no spatial knowledge to put into practice. However, any 100 good books will give us all of the present knowledge on electricity, electromagnetism, and gravity, and I think that we have explored thousands of those. The study was continuous up until a few months ago, when actual physical development has taken all of our time, so that I don't think we lack in education as relates to the necessities that are needed here.
Well, you have the model of the spaceship with you, and I wonder if very briefly and in the simplest terms you can explain it to me and to our audience.
We would like to say that first, it's electrically powered. This means that it has an electromotive force system. It has an electromagnetic system and a gravity system. These three combined powers causes our craft to function. The reason it functions is because it's geometrically designed to become independent of the Earth's gravity field when it equals it at any spot. This is the inertial field of attraction of a larger mass and a smaller mass, the model being the smaller mass, so that when it spins at a speed electrically with a force field in the skin, which is equal to the Earth's spin geometrically by dimension, then this craft becomes airborne.
Is this the only model that exists of the
No,
craft?
indeed. We have a 6-foot model in Apple Valley at our plant that has had a lot of work on it. It has had a few rotation tests and only has about 90 days more of work until it can be flight tested.
Does that mean flight tested into space?
No, not into space, just to levitate and to check out electrical principles.
Well, now, I would imagine you have presented your plans and ideas to the federal government, haven't you?
We did in the beginning. When we started and introduced our principle in Baltimore publicly at a press conference, it was the same week that the Russians put the first Sputnik into the sky, and the beginning of this era of the space age was born unquestionably. So there was a lot of excitement. Man had certainly proven that a satellite would orbit under its own power if the velocity was great enough. We went to the Defense Department and offered our plan to them, and they were highly interested, but our lack of manufacturing facilities, the very fact that were beginning and had not established ourselves, I believe, caused a lack of interest. At least we were turned down.
Well, now, don't you think that if the National Space Agency really felt that your ship would successfully launch men into space, they would drop everything that they were doing and give you all of the money and assistance that you possibly would need to get this project going?
We feel that within months, our activity at the plant on the Bear Valley Road, that this will take place. What materializes there in the next few months, we feel that there will be worldwide attention to our activities.
Well, what government agencies have you talked to, for example?
To the Defense Department.
Any other agencies?
Directly, only to the Defense Department.
And specifically to whom in the Defense Department?
This was the Brigadier General Conway in the Office of the Secretary of Defense in 1957.
And you're saying that while the government turned you down in the past, you feel that in the very near future they will sponsor you?
I don't think there's any question when we show physical flight demonstrations that there will be plenty of interest shown on all sides.
Well, now, you have stated, Mr. Carr, that the principle of your spaceship is as easy to understand as an automobile storage battery and a toy spinning top. If it is that simple, then why is it that other men haven't discovered this?
There's a possibility that there have been some successful discoveries along this line. It is a radical departure from the normal procedure of known physics, and nevertheless it is true physics. Apparently, until a physical demonstration comes along, people will be skeptical. However, we have made these demonstrations. They have been classified and quiet, but very soon they will be publicly
Now,
known.
are you using the editorial we again?
Yes, sir. Editorial we.
You have made actual demonstrations?
Yes, sir.
Can you go into any detail about them?
The only detail was that in one model that we built handmade ourselves, we had 6 successful flights, a crack up each time, and we kept refining it, and we lost this craft in flight.
To what distance did they go?
Well, this one went out of sight. The others that I had time fused to go about 1,000 feet high.
Mm-hmm. And what was the size of these?
The total outside diameter of this craft was close to 6 feet.
In an article appearing in the Desert Valley News Herald about how the OTC-X1 works, it states that your discoveries, I quote, will let men of this generation visit their neighbors on other planets. Do you believe there are beings on other planets?
Yes, I'm firmly convinced that we're not alone in this vast universe.
Mr. Carr, recently in Los Angeles there was a series of lectures given by such men as Dr. Edward Teller, Ralph Cordner, president of General Electric, Congressman Bruce Hayes of the House Committee on Space, Dr. Joseph Kaplan of UCLA, General Jimmy Doolittle, and Frederick Capell, president of the American Telephone and Telegraph Company. Now, these men all agreed that getting into space was a complex and challenging job. They also indicated that it is hardly as simple as a storage battery and a spinning top. Again, I ask you, why do you think that these apparently brilliant men are so incredibly stupid as not to grasp your understanding of this problem?
They've done a brilliant job with rockets, but look how long rockets were invented before any real use was made of them. Getting into space by blasting in the high gravity strain of high velocity is truly a complex job. The successes that have been made with rockets and missiles, I think, is almost incredible and phenomenal. But there is an easier way, and it is my way, and this is recognized now by some scientists. Dr. Herman Oberth flatly stated in a press release when he left this country after working here for several years as an expert in the field of rocketry, that when man went into space, it would be by an electrically powered craft, circular in design, protected by an electrical wind. We say force field instead of electrical wind. And where a force field is, a ship can travel in absolute comfort without friction.
Have you gone to any of the major industries, the major companies in our nation, and approached them about
In the beginning, we were negotiating with one of the largest of the aircraft companies when the missile and rocket program first begun to become paramount issue in the country. This was in 1952. And our negotiations were moving along in a rather comfortable vein of possibility of building one of these craft in '52. But a series of incidents took place. The president of this company passed on. Some of the engineers that were working with me were lost, and my contacts were completely closed, although I did approach the United States government through the Department of Commerce. They showed interest providing I presented a working model. And this, of course, I was unable to do at this time, and that was no other contacts have been made with large corporations.
Are you prepared to offer your services to the government or accept just a salary to assist in the production of the OTC-X1?
I feel that having originated this company, that I will continue to be the head of it until success has been materialized. I will at all times cooperate with our government in any program that has to do with the progress of America.
But at this point, while you are hopeful there will be government interest and government activity in your project, there has been absolutely none.
There has been none to date. No, sir.
We'll continue in a moment.
Thank you, sir.
Dominic Rodowinski was the creator of the 2007 Somewhere Out There pilot episode, which was originally supposed to be aired on Discovery Channel, but mainstream media wanted to edit out Ralph Ring's claim of how the craft was powered, so the documentary failed to hit public mainstream's attention and has been buried. Dominique, 27 years old at the time, drove from Canada to Las Vegas to meet up with Ralph Ring to discuss his extraordinary story. Ralph claims to have met Otis, whom needed a technician to help him build anti-gravity flying discs. Ralph states that the craft requires being spiritually awake to a quote-unquote higher consciousness to be able to operate the craft. He also states that their lab was confiscated by the United States government and was threatened not to contact Otis. Dominique had died in 2016 at only the age of 36 years old. Her body was found in the waters of Georgian Bay, Ontario, Canada on January 6, 2016 after she went missing 2 days before. Many UFO whistleblowers and researchers often mysteriously vanish or dies after seeking out information that global governments try to suppress. I believe the evil hidden powers of this earth was the cause of her demise. Here is her lost 2007 documentary with Ralph Ring.
We could barely move through the narrow spaces in John's apartment, but somehow he seems to have enough room to generate these high-frequency currents that levitates objects, fuses different materials together, and spontaneously fractures metal. According to John, the Hutchinson effect occurs as a result of combining radio waves and high-voltage sources, such as Tesla coils. If this zero-point energy can be converted into usable power, it's no wonder the military was interested.
We needed to find another person involved with zero-point energy. My research led us to Las Vegas, Nevada, to a man named Ralph Ring, a gifted and intuitive researcher and developer who helped to build and test pilot flying discs in the late 1950s and early 1960s. Hello.
Well, hello. How you doing?
How are you, Dominique?
I'm doing fine. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to Las Vegas.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming. Come on in. Yeah, sure. Welcome to our home.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking some time. I'm really interested to talk to you about these flying saucers that
Well,
you have not only been building, but flying from what we hear.
Yes.
We started, at least I started back in the late 50s and early 60s. We've rebuilt, redesigned them for years after that. We want to now turn them into a form of habitation and transportation for people, so that their home will be their transportation as well.
Ralph, by we, who do you mean exactly?
Oh, okay. Well, I should fill you in on that, I guess. Nikola Tesla was a great inventor and a great humanitarian. Well, Tesla wanted to get into his field, which was free, if you will, energy that comes from the surroundings. He was hired by J.P. Morgan to work with Westinghouse and Edison companies and on the East Coast. And Tesla said, I've got it made. I think we can now transmit electrical power through the Earth, through the ionosphere, without any wires or telephone poles. If you gave a device, like a free energy device, a generator that would service all their needs in their home for free, they could then bring out their creative talents, which they were born with and have been suppressed because they've had to toil for a living. They could be tremendous artists beyond our dreams, tremendous engineers beyond our dreams. J.P. Morgan was not buying it. He said, no, we're going to have to tear this stuff down. So Tesla kind of pulled back into himself and decided, well, I guess it's not time for this. Well, at that time, he was living in the New Yorker Hotel, actually, in New York. And there was a fellow by the name of Otis Carr who he's going to school, and to supplement his income, he worked as a clerk in this hotel. And Tesla and him became acquainted, and Carr was a sponge. He loved science in every way, shape, or form, but he was a natural science. He believed in the same thing Tesla did, that there's no limits to natural science, and everything should be on a simple level. Tesla said, they're not interested in my time. I want you to take everything I can teach you and go in your time and see if they'll listen to you. And if you don't make it, you're going to have to pass it on, because at the rate we're going, we're on a self-destructive course. Carr said, I will, and he got his own lab started and started really getting into a lot of free energy devices and building them.
So he built a spaceship?
Mm-hmm. He's building small spaceships then, and he had different sizes, different models.
So tell us how you met Otis Carr and how you began working with these flying saucers.
There's a company, Advanced Kinetics, in Costa Mesa. That's where we were living, in Costa Mesa, California. And they're looking for a research and development laboratory technician. They gave me a job, they put me in the research lab, and I was inventing ideas all day long. I just loved it because I like to invent simple ways of doing hard things.
And was Otis Carr working there too?
No. I told some friends about this and what I was doing, and he said, well, come to our group. We've got a group here called Understanding. It was created by a gentleman by the name of Daniel Fry in California. We could talk about things that were unlimited, not limited. I said, my mission is to see that we have habitation and transportation in one vehicle. And he said, well, you sound like a guy that's back east getting in trouble right now. His name is Otis Carr. And he put in a patent for a levitation device, and they wouldn't give him the patent. He said, you got to pull that levitation out and anchor it on the ground, and we'll give you a patent on an amusement device. You cannot use levitation. They brought him out to California. They said, here's your lab. It was all built. It had living quarters. It had machine shops. It had.
That's where you did most of your work, I imagine. And this is where you guys worked on the spaceship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How long did it take to develop this craft?
Day and night, 24/7, we were building these small prototypes, and they would range anywhere from 12 inches to 3 feet to 6 feet, to, in size.
And they actually flew. They actually levitated.
Oh yeah.
And what was the source of the power?
Well, it was magnetic in nature, and
you were actually building these for people to sit in. I mean, not just models.
These were prototypes just to prove what we wanted, and then graduate up to where human habitation could get on board and operate them.
If you could explain to us very simply how this device, how these craft work.
In those days, we had counter-rotating wheels, one going clockwise and another going counterclockwise. We had a capacitor, we had small magnets, and we had what's called a Utron. It was a double tetrahedron. That's 2 ice cream cones put with the open ends together so that you have a diamond shape. And we had 12 of them around the periphery of the craft. And we had magnets, horseshoe magnets, 12 of those around the craft. So when you started rotating and counter-rotating, as these neutrons went through the field, they would act as a generator and a capacitor in themselves, and they would generate a lot of power, not necessarily electrical power, but vibrational power. When you get to the resonant frequency of your surroundings, it cancels everything out. It goes to a 0 point. And once you've reached 0 point, then you can go anywhere you want. And you have your own force field around the craft.
You control its up and down and left and right movements by how fast it spins or other gyros in there?
Yeah, the ones with the models we had remotes, to operate the models. But when you get up into the larger craft, it's not necessary, because everything then, as Carr was explaining the difference between the brain and the mind, is synergetic. You operate the craft like it was a friend. It's like it was a living thing, because
connect with the craft.
Yes, and that's the only way that our particular craft would work.
There's a mental interface?
Yes.
So it's kind of like the thoughts carry out a vibration as well, and you have to go in harmony with the ship.
So some sort of morphogenic field was created, perhaps, some sort of almost living field.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ralph, have you had a chance to fly it yourself?
Flying is an antiquated word when it comes to the type of spaceships that we were operating, because they don't conventionally fly.
Or levitate.
They levitate and they teleport. They move through this thing called time and space. They actually traverse through multi-dimensions.
So you created an artificial gravity field, is it safe to say?
Yeah, you could say that, yeah.
Is this in any way related to the work of John Hutchinson and his anti-gravity experiments?
Well, it's along the same lines. I know John, he's an associate of our group. And as I mentioned before, there's all forms of levitation. But where ours differs from John's is that in order to operate our craft, it takes spirit, it takes a synergy. You have to recognize the craft as an entity of life itself. It has a consciousness, if you will, of its own. What John is doing is wonderful. I'm glad he's discovered a tremendous field of levitation and the composition of metal and molecular structures.
Ralph, can you tell us about your experience as being the co-pilot of one of these discs?
Sure. The next stage up was the 45-foot craft. They had already designed and built it, and they wanted us to test it. So we got on board, and near the center of the craft was a giant crystal ball in a kind of a gyroscopic holder. Underneath that was a laser that came up through the bottom of this crystal. And as the light came up and dispersed around this crystal, it lit up the crystal from infrared all the way around to ultraviolet. And then Carr said, okay guys, what I want you to do is just clear your brain and use your mind. So this is an experiment. And we're going to go outside and back in through what's known as time and space. And all you have to do is concentrate on what I'm about to tell you. We're going to go down range 10 miles. And that 10 miles downrange is equated to the vibratory rate of the color aquamarine. The colors just kind of dissolved and started turning into this brilliant aquamarine. And it lit up the whole ship. And then he said, okay, that's it, boys. Get out of the craft, and we're going to debriefing. And we looked at each other like, oh, I don't think it worked. We didn't go anywhere. We didn't do anything. And we said, well, it didn't work, did it? They said, why don't you guys empty your pockets? And we started pulling out sticks and stones and grass and stuff and putting them on the table. And I know we didn't have those going in. And where in the heck did this come from? And he said, well, you remember I told you about the brain has a limited capacity. It cannot believe beyond its jurisdiction. It doesn't want to believe anything beyond that. So you traveled with your mind, and it will come back to you, and then all these dots will be filled in as your life progresses. You'll remember what you did. It was in retrospect, I did go back now, and I do remember going and getting out of the craft. There was 3 of us. We walked down this ramp. We got out and we went over to a little hillside. I can see it right now. We picked up rocks and sticks, put them in our pockets, and we got back on board. I remember it now, but I didn't remember it then.
It sounds like this technology is something that we have to be spiritually advanced enough to be able to use it.
And Carr explained that as higher consciousness. He said, you've got to raise the consciousness.
When you were operating this disc, did you notice or were you told that anything changed as far as the structure of the craft?
There's a consistent expansion and contraction. It's almost so instantaneous that it's unnoticeable. And in one of the smaller demonstrations, we had a small model, aluminum model, and I could hear this hum, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful feeling while this thing was running, and I was touching it, and then it got more and more intense, and then I found like it was Jell-O, and I could put my fingers on it like Jell-O, and I looked at the other guys, and then I put my fingers inside this aluminum with my hand. I said, this is impossible, but I'm doing this, and I put it in and out of the craft. And Carr was over there because he said, you're energy, and that's energy. And when you understand that, and you get a harmonic with energy, you get a balance, you can do anything. There's no limit. So the next day, he had another model, and we put it up, but he was going to accelerate beyond. He says, these retinas are like cameras, are flashing at milliseconds. And when you flash fast enough, things seemingly disappear. So with that in mind, here's our next demonstration. So we fired this one up, and we were all watching it, and I was getting ready to put my hand in it, and whew, the whole thing disappeared right in front of us. He said it's quite simple. Tesla did this all the time in his laboratory, and it's teleported. He said, well, where did it go? And he said, well, it might have landed on somebody's dining room table. I don't know. He says, I don't know yet where it went, and I don't know if it'll come back. Maybe it'll show up someday. Maybe it's gone. Maybe it's still there.
But we just don't see it.
So we don't see it, yeah. And it's out of our dimension. And he explained that the mind, when you tune yourself high enough and you get into the mind space instead of the brain space, instead of logic or instead of reasoning or instead of all those things, you just get up to a sense of knowing. You know who and what you are. That you're a creative, immortal, infinite being. And we all are. And he said, everybody on this planet are gods by comparison, and they don't know it. They're asleep. And until they wake up, this is what our job is. We're making these toys, trying to get them to wake up, to realize there's no limits to what they can do. They don't have to live in servitude. They don't have to live in poverty. They've just been told that by people that unfortunately want to control things. Carr explained to us that the brain that we have operates this water vessel which we live in. But the energy that inhabits the vessel is who and what we are. We are energy, we're not bodies. The energy is all magnetic in nature, it's free in nature. We're swimming in energy. Well, before we could get any further with it, we were invaded, if you will, by people with a piece of paper that said they were, at this time, closing us down. The paper read that we were attempting to overthrow the monetary system of the United States, and that could be construed as high treason, and we were shutting you down and confiscating all your equipment.
Wait a minute. Didn't John Hutchison say the same thing about the Canadian government? That they confiscated his entire lab at one time?
I stayed in touch with Carr as much as I could, but as soon as I contacted him, I was contacted by somebody. We told you to stay away from even thinking about this.
Well, what did the energy companies do to Carr?
The powers that be, namely the power companies, weren't quite interested in anything to do with Tesla or Carr. They didn't want this information out. It was even beyond the energy company. It came down to, and it can be traced to this day, back to the international banking system out of England. That's where this all started, the monetary system per se.
Because his inventions were so revolutionary, would it upset the whole banking system?
Yes, it would upset everything. They had a very, very earnest effort put forth to eliminate Carr and his inventions and his ideas.
Ralph, do you think you're going to build models again?
We're doing it now. We have pods related to research facilities all over the United States, because I'm getting a lot of help, a lot of support. And there's people like me, people more brilliant than me that are involved in it. And we're waiting not for the crafts, because they're waiting in the wings. The crafts are ready now, but we're waiting for the consciousness of the people to raise up high enough and to start accepting these gifts that we want to give to them.
Well, hopefully that's changing. And hopefully in time, we'll see people flying around in these crafts of yours.
Absolutely. We're going from the Flintstones to the Jetsons.
Jetsons.
Yeah.
Ralph, thanks so much for talking to us today.
Well, you're quite welcome.
Extraordinary.
It's been my pleasure.
Dominic, usually it's films that are being promoted here at TIFF, but you've got a little bit of reality TV going on. What's your project about?
It's called Somewhere Out There, and basically it is involving free energy, science, metaphysics, connecting everything together. And I interviewed 32 guests in 3 weeks, travel in an RV all across the United States, and it was amazing journey. I met amazing scientists who prove that there are, in fact, aliens and extraterrestrials out there. I interviewed a man who removes alien implants in LA. We took the sample of the implant and we took it to University of Toronto labs. And the metal piece that was found inside the implant is not from this planet. It is a meteorite. Now, the skin surrounding the implant is not human DNA. So that is just so fascinating for me. But just one guess, that's just one guess. And I have 32.
Now, TIFF is usually made for films. And how are you benefiting from TIFF 2012?
Well, I'm going to have a screening this Sunday. It's going to be a premiere, and I'm inviting anybody who wants to come and see. And yeah, it's all about awakening the human potential.
Now, if people want to know more about this project, how can they contact you? Do you have a website?
They could actually look at my first whole episode on YouTube. It's called Somewhere Out There.
Great. Look for it. Thank you.
I have observed over a number of decades the nature of the suppression of these technologies, and that happened to me. I actually had my laboratory destroyed a couple times in the process of developing these technologies, and I wasn't coming from a paranoid place, but that actually happened. And I found that to be an amazing effect, almost more interesting than the over-unity effect, that you develop a device and then people show up and destroy your lab. Like, that was, to me, that was a very powerful piece of data about the nature of the power structure on the planet. And I believe that we need to recognize that over time, the dynamics and the strategies of suppression have become more sophisticated. I hear many less stories of people who are actually threatened or having their labs destroyed these days. The way they generally affect us is through just, if we become on the radar, they just make sure we don't get funded, or they send certain agents of chaos into our field that prevents us from getting our business together to try to bring these things forth. And it really seems like right now the powers that be have their hands full with all kinds of other power struggles on the planet, and that they're not so much concerned with if a couple inventors develop free energy devices. I know quite a few people who have operating devices, and they haven't had any problems. But the process of actually bringing them to market and mass producing them, that's the place at which these efforts get shut down. And they tend to get shut down in a variety of ways. But I think that given that we're trying to break through this challenge and get actual clean energy technologies that represent this quantum leap forward, that are really resonant field technologies that are just have no, really are not utilizing any fuel and are just tapping energy from the field in some way, shape, or form. That kind of technology, I think, is so profound in terms of its advent on the planet that to try to just push it out according to the old business models may be part of the problem, because these technologies are based on a completely different physics. You put one of these on the table and you demonstrate it to people, and it provides an unassailable counterexample to the entire justification for a world in which the social, political, and economic structure is based in fear and scarcity, and that the threat at psychological levels, the challenge to change our paradigm, is just implicit in these technologies themselves. I believe the resistance is not just that it threatens financial interests. It threatens to pull the rug out from under the entire dominant world view. And that dominant worldview is one that actually needs to dissolve at this time if we're to survive. That worldview is a worldview that cannot allow humanity to go forward and develop a sustainable culture in harmony with the earth. So what the free energy technologies are pointing to is a very, very profound transformation of the very nature of being human. The fact that these technologies are emerging at this time, I see as a reflection of an awakening of consciousness that's going on throughout the species, and the need to recognize that since they're involving a whole new physics, a whole sort of, in a sense, a more spiritual physics, we actually need to rethink our whole strategies.
To understand the power structure of these hidden forces, we must go into deeper roots that goes far beyond the government. The Illuminati is terms that stirs the imagination, invoking vision of mysteries, powers, and real conspiracy. The Illuminati refers to a real historical group founded on May 1st of 1776. Over the centuries, the idea of the Illuminati is to control global events and to usher in a new world order. This secret society influences every major event in the trend of our world politics, economic, and culture, working towards a new world order. According to many spokesmen who've lost their lives, the Illuminati goals includes the establishment of global government, which is a one world government, a one world religious system, a one world currency, and a one world leader, and control the world economic system. These goals are suspiciously close to the goals of the Antichrist, whose ranked and ruled can be seen in the book of Revelation. As been told in the book of Revelation, the Antichrist will create a one world government, a one world monitoring system, and a one world religion. The symbols associated with the Illuminati, such as the all-seeing eye and the reference to go to the Baphomet, have been interpreted by many as the evidence of the Illuminati pervertive influence in our world. From celebrities, politicians, business leaders, mayors, actors, musicians, sports stars, central banks, big pharma, big oil, military, FBI, CIA, NSA, DOD, the UN, and other global governments have all been infiltrated and accused of being part of this secret society. These accusations are often linked to the Illuminati interpretation of symbols or certain events as proof of the Illuminati infiltration. Freemasonry is another branch of a secret society working alongside the Illuminati. Any Grand Master Freemason who are degrees 33 and higher have flat out signed their names in blood contract with Lucifer in secrecy that are tied to the lodge's hidden oaths and secret orders to help establish the rising New World Order. If you have a Masonic lodge anywhere in your city or town, then you have Satan worshippers there that are your local politicians, law enforcement, military, business owners, administrators, managers, employees, healthcare and nursing home owners, university, colleges, seminary, and government school administrators, professors, teachers, even church pastors, deacons, and other potential members. Freemasons are tied to a lot of central banks and help fund successful businesses. As followers of Jesus Christ, we are called to navigate the complexity of this world with discernment guided by the light of the gospel. The scripture offers us wisdom in this regard. John chapter 17 verse 16 reminds us, "You are not of this world, just as I'm not of this world." This verse speaks directly to our condition as believers, called to be in the world, engaging with it, yet not allowing it to shape our identity or dictate our fear or distract us from our faith.
Good. All right. Men in Black. Wild Card Line, you're on the air with Jim Keith. Good evening. Morning.
Hello.
Whatever. Where are you?
My name is Steve. I'm calling from Portland.
Yes, Steve.
Yes, and my grandmother used to scare us. I grew up on a ranch in Colorado. Used to scare us with a story about the men in black that came when her grandfather died. And you'll have to excuse me. I'm a little bit nervous.
It's quite all right.
But her grandfather was belonged to a benevolent order. Not the Masons, but another, not very large, but still a significant benevolent order. I don't really want to mention that. But when he died, he always paid his dues, and my grandmother said they dressed him up like Dracula. He had a little sash around his neck, and he had this brooch. He worked in magnetics, and one of his hobbies was learning how to use hypnotism and magnetics to heal people.
Yes.
And when he died, after the ceremony, the graveside ceremony, they ushered the family away, and she said that the men in black came and after the ceremony, the graveside ceremony, they ushered the family away, and she said that the men in black came and they took the brooch from him, and they also he gave his papers to them before he died on what he was working about.
Are you, you're saying brooch. Do you mean brooch?
Brooch, yeah.
Brooch, all right.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my grandmother called it a brooch.
That's quite all right.
And, she said that, it was, his grandfather had joked that if you stared into it, it would steal your soul. And in order to keep us in line, she would scare us and tell us that the men in black would come and snatch our souls if we didn't behave. And I was wondering if maybe is that something that sounds like it has a ring of truth in it, or was that just a story?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like you have a soul, so you must have behaved yourself.
Oh yes.
Is that myth you've heard, Jim?
You know, it relates to some things I've heard, which or speculated. I don't know if I heard them exactly, but one speculation is that the men in black do have connections to occultic or secret society, or as he said, a benevolent brotherhood. But there are connections to that. For instance, it's been suggested that at least some of the men in black are agents of the Vatican, and that they are trying to stop speculation and talk and so forth about supernatural occurrences that aren't of a Catholic sort.
I tell you, Catholicism and the Vatican, these are very, very strange, secretive things. I interview Malachi Martin. If you've heard the show, I'm sure you've heard me interview Malachi.
I'm familiar with Mr. Martin. You know, there is a secret society, a secret Catholic society called the Knights of the Apocalypse that was founded in the late 1600s, and its whole purpose is to combat the Antichrist. Now, they may see UFOs as being agents of the Antichrist. So, indeed, this is another thread, this kind of secret society thread.
The Knights of the Apocalypse.
Exactly.
Wow.
Okay, so this is going to be an overview analysis of everything that we talked about and went over, as far as, you know, from Satanists within intelligence agencies / the shadow government, its connections with the Illuminati, the UFOs, the paranormal, the occult, all of it is interconnected. So, and how this today, many people question, you know, why is this even a topic of our culture? Why is it even a subject to be talked about, and how does it interfere with our lives? Well, I really do believe in the near future, there's going to come a time where global events is going to take place to where these UFOs are going to appear, and they're going to, quote unquote, solve matter problems around our world. You know, think of a major crisis happening. You know, I believe, like what is prophesied in the Bible, that the Antichrist, he's gonna make himself known to help solve solutions. You know, problematic problems that happen in our society. From think of the things like famines, pestilence, wars, earthquakes, tsunamis, meteorites, tornadoes, and other combination of disasters. And you best believe that a lot of this is being orchestrated, genocide. I do believe there's a hidden power structure or hand at play that's causing these events. So before I dive into how I believe that takes place, the Bible talks about how we're made in God's image. And who hates humanity more than anything else? Who hates God? The devil. Lucifer, he fell from heaven. So, and God said that we are his greatest creations. So if we're his greatest creation, who is going to hate his creations? The devil. So I want to inform that because it's a lot of people, with the flow of information out with the internet and everything, which is very valuable still. But there's still a lot of people who still not connecting the puzzle pieces in a biblical perspective as they should. There is going to come a time where all nations is going to be in a fallen state. It don't matter who hates who. Every nation is going to be in a fallen state real soon. And they're going to look towards some type of savior to come and restore everything to place. That's when the Antichrist comes in, which is prophesied in the book of Revelation. But before I dive into that, I want to talk about, the satanic practices within our intelligence agencies, the shadow government. I believe, these 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati, from the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, the Kennedys, Onassis, the Colin, all of those different names attached to the 13 bloodlines created a shadow government. And I believe they purposely make them to help basically clean up some of the devil's mess, to suppress information, basically also a mask for the elite, if that makes sense. And they've been around for a very long time. It's hard to find a lot of public records about them, but doing enough research, you could trace back to a lot of things. Even in some library books, they're even mentioned. President Bill Clinton talks about how there is a government within the government and that he doesn't have control of it. So, even some prominent people have came out and testified about these people. So I do believe they pull strings behind even a lot of the presidents, because a lot of presidents have been affiliated with secret societies. Or as far as secret societies, there's these so-called aliens that's taking place. Mainstream, at least that's what the mainstream narrative perspective of them are called, aliens. I call them demons. When you really look at them, when you look at the research of these entities, that's what they are. I believe they're interdimensional, extra-dimensional entities stepping in and out of our world. The Bible talks about otherworldly entities, angels, demons, and how they're able to travel through ways like that. The Bible tells us how the devil goes into the heavens to constantly talk to God, to cause infliction, but he needs permission, just like he did with Job. He needed permission for anything, but he constantly talks to God. So, and God, he's not in our realm, he's in another realm. So that's just an example of how these entities are able to cross worlds like that. So I basically want to give an analysis why I do believe that these so-called aliens are demonic, because what's really talking about today more than anything is UFOs. The recent documentary came out of this, I still haven't watched it yet, called The Age of Disclosure. And just 30 years ago, we weren't even discussing, at least the majority of the public wasn't talking about the whole UFO phenomenon. You go to the common person, they're going to tell you that, you're just a conspiracy theorist. or they wouldn't give no type of knowledge or attention to it. You know, they wouldn't acknowledge it. So, but now it's becoming a big topic upon mainstream media. You go on YouTube and type up UFOs. So many people have captured these strange lights and metallic objects in the skies, and other witnesses are now coming forward because other people are now talking about it. So now they feel more comfortable to coming forward telling their testimonies. Well, I do believe our world is staged, and I do believe the powers that be are tied into this stuff. You know, it's all interconnected from the paranormal to the occult. And I do believe, you know, you go back to things like MJ12, Majestic 12. It shows little examples how, you know, how our power structure have made deals with these entities. You know, President Eisenhower, MJ12 is short for Majestic 12, and talks about how they made deals with our presidents and government to be able to abduct people in exchange for technology. You know, the book of Mark, chapter 8, verse 36 says, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose their soul? You know, they only, Majestic 12, the files that was released to the public, they only told you little things about that. It was more darker things that happened with that deal. And I believe there was deals even before that treaty even happened. I do believe our government have made dark deals with these entities. You know, there is some very dark and demonic stuff with these so-called extraterrestrials. And if you know how demons work, they need legal access. They need invitations into your life. They don't just do things through their own will. They need an invite. Whether you're signing your blood and contract, whether you're taking an object home, whether you know it or don't know it, they need legal access to come and cause conflict into your life. So that's why they make deals with our elite, the powers that be. That's why they need to make those type of deals to be able to control them. Because I don't believe these 13 bloodlines, the Illuminati or whatever, they're the ones controlling everything through their own will. I believe there are handlers behind them, which are the so-called aliens / demons, fallen angels. They're the ones that's causing the influence in our society through them. So as far as UFOs, what was my take on them? I do believe the crafts itself is demonic. I used to believe, when I was younger, make this topic super quick. When I was younger, I was always fascinated into UFOs, and ever since I was the age of 9 or 10 years old. And I just ran down a rabbit hole since then. I used to think they were just material objects, just like this pen, for example, just a regular material object, but more advanced. But when I used to hear reports, these things are able to do things that no material object can do, that defies all laws in physics. They're able to make sharp 90-degree turns. They could disappear, reappear just like that. People talked about in the presence of UFOs, they smell sulfur, which is usually associated with demonic spirits. People also say in the presence of UFOs, they are in a paralysis-like state, similar to sleep paralysis. I can go on to why it's so many connections to these things are actually not what it appears to be, at least to the mainstream narrative. As we know with demons, they know how to manipulate objects. They can possess objects. They can use objects as vehicles, and they can use objects as vessels, including flying saucers. This is why in Ralph Ring's testimony, when he was working with Otis T. Carr, the inventor of these crafts, which was called the OTC-X1, he talked about how these things were able to manipulate, the craft was able to be like just a solid material, and then it was like a jello-like material. And then it'll be in our world, and then it exit out of our world, like interdimensional, or it was like jumping into a portal. And that's common in a lot of UFO literature, even dating back to the 1940s and before. People would talk about how they'll see these things come in and out of our world. So this lets us know there's a more spiritual aspect to these crafts. I also want to put in that, you know, in Otis T. Carr, he wrote down that these two rotating plates, he also called them the Ezekiel wheel, which is very similar to what we call in the Bible, in the book of Ezekiel, the angel named Ophanim, which is wheels within a wheel, which the prophet Ezekiel had described seeing that God has sent. And the angel that appeared in front of the prophet Ezekiel was described to have eyes all around the wheels. And it talked about how these wheels, they were wheels within the wheels, as I described. And the wheels was basically, the way it looked, it was basically a symbol. It was a symbol of God's sovereignty and presence, because in the Bible it talks about how God, he's omnipresent, he's always around. You know, the all-seeing eye of God represents his knowledge. And I'm not talking about the all-seeing eye like the Illuminati or whatever. I'm talking about the Ezekiel wheel. Why there was eyes all around it was because that's just a symbol of God's letting us know that he's all-seeing of everything. You can't hide nothing from God. So he wanted Ezekiel to see that as a symbol. You know, and also it was a symbol of divine purpose. You know, the wheels was active purpose for work and unfolding plans of God, letting us know that, you know, he has plans for us. And a lot of these movies and TV shows and stuff, we hear a lot that when these so-called UFOs come down, when these aliens come and greet humanity, they always talk about fear not, have no fear. Well, that's the same description when you read the Bible. That's the same description with these so-called, my bad, brain fart. That's the same description with these angels came down and told man to fear not, because they had some of these, I guess, monstrosity looks sometimes. That's why some of them had to come down in human form so they wouldn't scare mankind. So they'll tell us, you know, fear not, you know. So other than that, during that time where Ezekiel saw that wheel was during the Babylonian exile time, long before the eye of providence or the eye-seeing or the all-seeing eye of Lucifer was ever recognized or basically out there. The all-seeing eye didn't come until later on. So, and we already know that Lucifer, he likes to mock, he likes to imitate God. That's what really got him kicked out of heaven, because he wanted to be like God. So that's why he has this thing called an all-seeing eye. And he tries to indict fear in all of his initiates, that he's all-seeing, that he's everywhere, and stuff like that. He's not everywhere. He just says that just so he can cause fear, power, and tries to be Omega like God. So anyways, I want to go in more into the topic of flying saucers and why and how they operate. So as I was talking about with the OTC-X1, Otis's craft, he talked about how not only was this thing was able to be in a solid form to a jello-like texture, and how it was interdimensional. He talks about how you got to treat this craft like an entity, like in Ralph Ring's testimony. To treat the craft like an entity, you got to raise your consciousness. It's basically empty your mind and raise your consciousness from your low vibrations or whatever. And all that is New Age talk. I know it's a big trend in our society, especially my generation. I'm 27. And people younger than me, my age and older, especially around my age room, they're really practicing this New Age philosophy, which is demonic, because the whole topic of this, or teaching of this, is basically I. You know, you're basically believing you can be God, you can connect with things, the universe. That's pantheism talk. You know, the Bible talks about don't worship the creation, but worship the Creator. And it goes back to Genesis, how the serpent in the garden, he told Eve, you would not surely die, and you would be as gods. You know, this different story, but the same lie that's being told today. And from what many whistleblowers that came and testified and said that a part of the New World Order's agenda, as I described, which talks about a one world religious system, I really do believe this New Age philosophy is going to be played out, because a lot of these mystery schools through secret societies, this was part of their secret in their teachings, was New Age philosophy. This is something that they knew even back then that was going to come and play out in the near future, that that one day all nations are going to come together and practice the same belief. You know, and many people have always wondered, like, you know, what's going to bring all different religions together, you know, from Christianity to Muslims, Buddhists, whatever. You know, what's going to, you know, from people being at war with each other, hating other nations for so long throughout centuries and stuff, what's gonna come and bring everybody together? Well, the book of Revelation talks about how the demonic activity is going to arise in the last days. So that means the supernatural is going to increase. So if the supernatural is going to increase, so that means that when people start practicing certain things, it's going to be things like mystic, psychic things. Like, let's say, for example, if you practice meditation using crystals, you're going to be able to levitate, or you might be able to do miracle things, heal. The Bible also says that, you know, spirits will be able to perform signs and lying wonders in the last days. And one of the things that Jesus talked about is do not be deceived. There's going to be, he also says there's going to be many people coming in my name, but don't be deceived. And that's what's going to tie into the Antichrist. So, and I say this because as we get closer and closer to the return of Jesus Christ, there's going to be strong signs of deception. That's one of the things that Jesus warned his disciples before he departed was deception, 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 deception. So, and we know that demons, they're supernatural, just like angels. You know, spirits, they're supernatural. They could do things. They can manipulate objects. As I talked about, they can even use objects as vehicles and vessels, including flying saucers. So one of the things that Nikola Tesla talked about in quartz crystals was that he said that, quote unquote, that quartz crystals is nothing less than a living, he said that quartz crystals is nothing less than a living entity in itself. So what does that tell you? And this is somebody who was supposed to be super smart. He also, when you do the research, he practiced alchemy, which is mixed with science and the occult. So that's something that Satan has had to play in for a long time. You know, this is why we're hearing things like a man is trying to merge. I mean, it's been happening for a long time, but that's why you're hearing things like we can now produce babies artificially through robots and stuff like that. You know, you think that's of God? That's an abomination. You know what I mean? Man has been playing with God for a long time and testing him. So I do want to say this as a closing before before I end this my last little testimony, not testimony, but as I end my last little lecture or whatever, I do want to inform that when we die, we are going to go to a place one day. It's either going to be heaven or hell, you know, and according to our lifestyle, that's where we're going to go. God doesn't send nobody to hell. We go there through our own decision makings through this lifetime. You know, God tells us it's going to be many that day, you know, including pastors. You know, Lord, did I not prophesy and cast out devils in your name? And he's going to say, depart from me, you work of iniquity. I never knew you. So I do believe these UFOs is going to be tied in with the Antichrist. The reason why they're conditioning mankind into believing in UFOs and aliens now, because they want the minds of man away from God and to look into an alien savior. Because what's going to bring all nations together during the hard times, as I was talking about, from wars, pestilence, famine,
uh, weather disasters, earthquakes. This is going to be happening global, worldwide, and the Illuminati, who are connected with our shadow government, who controls our shadow government, are going to be launching these things soon. They're going to be sending all these disasters in, you know, and I believe real soon UFO sightings are going to be increasing very soon. You're going to continue to hear UFOs talk about on mainstream media, the news, YouTube, friends and family sharing it across platforms on Facebook, social media, TikTok. You know, people are soon, I believe, they're gonna start looking after these so-called alien saviors to come and restore humanity. And that's when our government is gonna have a full-out disclosure of these things. They're gonna tell us to follow these entities and to worship. It's gonna be one that they're gonna tell us to follow and worship. And this is how I believe what's gonna tie into the Antichrist. And this is why it's being talked about more than ever. So I don't believe aliens are from another world. I believe that they're actually fallen angels and demons. The Bible says in the book of Corinthians that even Satan himself can masquerade as an angel of light. And it says that he's the prince and powers of the airways. So that lets us know that he controls a lot of this stuff. And not to mention, the Vaticans in Arizona have a telescope named Lucifer where they can spy out on a demonic activity out in space, what we call UFOs. So that's a little overview and analysis of what I have to say about what my beliefs on UFOs, the secret societies, and orchestrated events of the power structure of this world. I'm going to give some testimonies because I know just me talking about some of this stuff, it's still not going to convince some of the people who practice New Age, you know, people in crystal healing and practice the Kundalini and other stuff such as burning sage. All that does is invite demons into your life, and it causes a wreckage. There's many former practitioners who practiced that stuff for years have actually came out and testified and said that stuff was demonic. And all those people who came out and testified this have reverted to being a Christian, or some may say believers in the Bible, you know, followers of Jesus Christ. So I do want to put a closing to this documentary because it came out longer than I wanted to, but I believe it was very important that the Lord wanted me to put out there for the people to know. So God bless. And I also just want to encourage those who are struggling in different things. Lean all your hope into Jesus Christ, because he's the only one that can restore you. And it says in the scriptures, it says to do not worry, for tomorrow has its own worries, because there's going to always be many problems that this world is going to give us, many obstacles that the devil is going to throw at you, that even God is going to allow him to throw at you. But how can you overcome challenges in life if you're too scared to fight them? You're never going to grow like that. Without challenges, there's no growth. So God bless all you guys. I love y'all. I hope to see y'all in the New Jerusalem. I want you guys to be inspired by this. I hope this helps people spiritually. If not, I hope you guys were able to learn something. But here's these testimonies of these former New Agers that came into the truth of the all-living God.
Can you burn sage as a Christian? Burning sage is a ritualistic witchcraft practice practiced in many different sects of witchcraft, shamanism, voodoo, Santeria, New Age, all that. It does not protect you. Sage is a practice of smudging, okay? It's not burning incense. That's completely different. If you burn incense because you want to make the aroma of your house smell good, that's not demonic. But when you're smudging in New Age practices and witchcraft, it's supposedly supposed to exit out the bad energy, destroy the bad energy, and keep your aura at high energy levels, and all demonic spirits are supposed to go from the saging. It's a ritualistic practice. They do it in native Cherokee and Indian tribes. They do it in shamanism. They do it in voodoo and Santeria. All witchcraft practices practice sage. If you go to a witchcraft store, they always got sage on deck. I'm gonna tell you this because I did it. I used to have different types of sage. I've been to New Orleans and I was educated on how to properly sage according to witchcraft practices and how you're supposed to open the windows of your house and release the negative energy and then close it and allow the good energy to come in. And I would sage in my car as I'm driving. I would try to keep demonic spirits away, but it kept getting worse. Nothing happened. There was no cleansingness. I was having crazy dreams, sleep paralysis. I've had sleep paralysis multiple times in my life. It did not do anything. It was a ritual. It was witchcraft. While I was burning sage, I also had altars, putting salt in corners, taking herb baths, putting coconut water on my head, like doing all the things that they tell you to do in New Age and witchcraft, and it only made it worse. Why? You know why? Because it's from the devil. That's what Satan does. Satan takes God's creation and what he does is pivots people and convinces them, deceives them to worship the creation rather than the creator. The Bible says multiple times, it's mentioned that God is the one who protects us from evil. Jesus never said, Lord, keep me from all temptation and let me use sage to deliver me from evil. No, he said, you deliver me from evil, God. I don't need no object. What do I need to burn something to keep demons away? In the name of Jesus Christ alone keeps demons away. This can't even save me. This chain, I just like it because I like the eagle on it. But this eagle don't protect me. This shirt don't protect me. Even if I was wearing a big old cross right now, it doesn't protect me. I wear it as, if I had a cross, I would wear it as a tool for evangelism to reel the souls in so they could see the cross, which represents Christ. It has nothing to do with me. It's just a tool to win souls. It doesn't protect me. Only Jesus does.
That New Age stuff is dangerous. And I can speak on it because I've done it. And the scary thing is, it works. And so, because it works, people think that it's the truth. But let me tell you, you're working with demons. The universe, meditation, crystals, chakras, your kundalini energy, your manifestation and all that stuff is witchcraft. All that stuff leads you to demons. Tarot card reading, horoscopes, all that stuff is demonized. And see, a lot of people go there before they come to Christ. I went there searching for the truth. So I was all in it, and I did it for like a good year. So yes, it will bring you material things. If you're manifesting every day and you're writing and you're doing what you're supposed to do, it will bring you material things, yes. But you're channeling demons. And see, a lot of people don't know this because they think, oh, I just want to manifest, oh, I just want to align my chakras and all this. And we call it New Age, but this has been around for a long time. See, what we got to realize is being blessed is not about materials. And we equate materials to blessing, but that's not it. See, the devil can imitate everything that God does except love, except the fruits of the Spirit. The devil can't imitate those things. So everything you do comes with a price. Everything comes at a cost. So yeah, it's all peaches and cream at the beginning, but something will come back up that will bite you, that will hurt you. See, the difference between God and all this other stuff is all the other stuff, you have to do stuff by your own power. You have to use your mind to do stuff. You have to do all this stuff. With God, you just have to have faith and believe. You have to believe in Christ. And through Christ, things will happen. It's not about how much you can do. See, what that stuff does is take little bits and parts from the Bible and twist it and change it around. And no, the universe is not another word for God. I've seen that before. The universe is not another word for God. God created the universe. There is nothing above God, the one and true living God, the Lord, Jehovah Jireh, Yahweh. There's nothing above that. Jesus is God's son, God in the flesh. There's no name above that name. Now think about this. Why in the world would people only care about this one specific religion, Christianity? Why? Why would everybody be against that one? Why is everybody against Jesus? Why? No one persecutes any other religion. There is a reason for that. That New Age stuff will lead you down a path you don't want to go down. Follow Christ.
So I'm sure that you've heard many a time that New Age spirituality is demonic. And that is coming from somebody who fully believed in it and fully thought that it was of God. I paid for psychics, and the psychics talked about God. Never said the name Jesus, but talked about God. I've paid for tarot card readings. I was all over tarot card TikTok. Also bought crystals. Also believed in angel numbers, and I would see it all the time, and fully believed in horoscopes and astrology. I even have my zodiac sign tattooed on my ankle. I'm telling you, I was in it, and I fully believed that I was being spiritual and growing closer to God. And I've seen people say so much defending New Age because it's real, and how zodiacs are so on point. And what I want to point out to you is that it is real. Totally real. No one ever said that it wasn't. We're saying it's demonic. The thing that is fueling these things to be real are demons. And the purpose of that is exactly what happened to me. I thought that I was following God, and I wasn't. And it was deceiving me. And that's the purpose. To keep you from fully worshiping God, because you are worshiping these tarot cards and crystals and angel numbers, and you're relying on that, and that is becoming an idol in your life. And I really think that is horrible, how people are like, oh, I gossip a lot and I'm just really mean and two-faced because I'm a Gemini. No, that's not an excuse. It's not okay to be that way. And yeah, definitely not justifying that. When you are identifying yourself with the characteristics of these zodiac signs, you're accepting that that is who you are, and it stops you from growing. Not only that, but you're basically kind of saying that your personality was made because of the way that the stars and the moon were the day that you were born, also taking that away from God. He's the one who created you. Completely inside and out, personality, everything. I know that this is going to stir up controversy, but this is for people that genuinely don't know or didn't think about these different aspects. I needed to hear this when I was deep into it too, so I'm giving you this for flavor. Take it as you will.